Hello everyone, my name is Gala from 6R and I'm here with
Davina Butter from 6N.
And I'm Mrs. Ngala, and I'm here with this young gentleman and lady to start discussing about what are we talking about today?
peace and non-violence. But before we start that, let's look at the opposite of what it is. What is violence?
Tell me, what do you think? What is violence, Davina?
I think that violence is like when you're having a physical fight with someone, which can lead to injuries and also to it will like give people injuries. Yes.
Have you experienced them any time, or if you've watched it or seen any form of violence?
Yeah, when people pick on other cultural kids, like kids from other cultures who maybe speak the language very little because they're not used to their new environment, so they're picked on and they're bullied. So what I usually do, if they're from my grade, I'll step in and ask what's happening. Because if it's someone from my grade and they're bullying them, I'd say it's not funny. And if you're trying to do this for attention, that's not cool.
That's very kind. And I'm also wondering, any other place that we have seen some form of violence, maybe in the home setup or away from the school setup? Any other place, Davina, that you have seen some form of violence?
Uh, I think Madam Mano. Yes. Like you see, like Gen Zs are fighting for rights, and so like they're getting killed, which like doesn't make any sense. Like they didn't do anything. They're fighting for their rights. So yes.
All right, and violence is something that can make us feel very uncomfortable, and nobody wants to experience this, right?
Yes.
So now think about a space where we have the ideal situation. For instance, we can go back to the school setup. What would be that ideal time in school that can make you feel, oh, this is very peaceful? I would love to be in this situation. Would you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, what I think of a perfect school is when the teachers have allowed people to express themselves and not telling them to keep quiet all the time. Because also, sometimes I think this happens to me a lot, but I haven't been able to say it yet. Because I have a reputation for being academically suitable. Um, they usually think since I usually know what that is, I already know the answer, so they give others a chance. But sometimes I want to answer questions, but they don't give me a chance. And I don't think that's fair because that's being a bit discriminative. What I also think is different sports, because if there are more than 12 people who want to play football together, but the field would be crowded and it won't be fair, I think what you should do is divide the field so there's a lot of fairness when people can play together, but it's divided in the field so that each has a different teams. Yeah.
All right. I hear you talking about fairness. Now, for you, Davina, what would be the ideal situation? Maybe even in school, you can give an example or out there where people experience fairness. And while I'm asking that question, do you think fairness and the ideal space would bring peace in our culture as a whole?
Yes. Like for example, like if you're like a student in like America and then you're like the only black student of it. I've been there. I wasn't bullied, but there could be like somebody who was in that situation and they could be bullied. So I think people need to be like fair, and there needs to be like equality with people. And I think like
Maybe they get a turn so that they're heard.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we've been talking about this ideal situation, the ideal school, maybe the ideal home amongst siblings for those who have siblings or amongst cousins, because we're starting to develop a culture. What would be ideal? I've heard you talk about fair. What about the space of maybe your opinion being heard? Maybe there's a time where you want to have your opinion on a matter heard. How would that be cultivated to show the real thing that you want to show?
Well, I honestly think for being hard, I think people when a teacher comes and asks what they want to do for the lesson, this is an example, they can use a debate to show, a poll to show what other people think, and the most votes wins. But even though your side doesn't win, it shows that you've been heard, and people can, at least you know that they've heard your voice and you've been understood.
I like that. I like the aspect of having your voice heard and you feeling understood, even if they didn't take your side. That's impressive. But now think about the wider community and Evina, like the ideal situation where people don't agree with what you had to say, or you don't agree with what another person said. How would we approach that?
First of all, we would need to like understand how we started the conflict in the first place, and so we can build up to a point where we can fix that conflict, and we can set some rules that we can fix it so that argument doesn't happen again.
Okay, all right. And sometimes there are people who will not hear you and not give your voice. Does that mean that this person becomes your enemy?
Um, Not really. It shouldn't. They shouldn't become your enemy because, like, um, you. Some people might not give you a voice, and that's like, okay, because like, probably they don't really understand or they don't really like you or anything.
Maybe they don't really understand. But then there's this other aspect. Now that we're thinking about a culture of peace and non-violence, how then do we start bringing in peace in our everyday life? Like a typical example, a sports game, for instance, one team has won and they're celebrating, but your team has lost. How can we bring this in a way that can bring in cohesion and understanding of one another in a good celebratory mode? Give me an example or
Um,
talk about that.
I think it's kind of pretty self-explanatory. You have to go back to the rule of rules. Um, like there should be a rule so that when someone has celebrated, it doesn't make feel left out. Because when we play football in our grade, when you celebrate, that's when that means that you've been acting cocky, and then every time you're cocky, that's your letdown. Whether sooner or later it will always happen. If you're cocky, even if it's like 5 years, it will be your letdown. You can never get away with anything when you're cocky. So you can make a rule: when you score a goal, you don't celebrate or make some flashy moves. Just go back to the game so that people can remain focused and don't let their anger to move to not motivate them and make them sad, make them too sad, so they don't have the strength to actually try, because they think that they're already gonna win anyway, even though they would have had a chance to come back.
And now that you're saying about not celebrate, sometimes we cannot tell somebody not to celebrate, but maybe in the celebration, not to bring somebody down, right? That's what I'm picking. And
Yeah.
now think about somebody who has the academic angle, who, because they're smarter or they capture things easily. In the school setup, in the classroom setup, you know a lot of things, but there's this peer who maybe is struggling with understanding concepts. How can we make them not get to a point where they're feeling left out?
You can try and help them um, with studies and tell them that they're doing great and they tried and at least they like passed the test. It's not like you can succeed at another place because like God has your plan for you, so you don't have to like be sad about it or anything.
All right. And now let us broaden our mind a bit more. Let's look at the world. Today we are talking about the culture of peace and non-violence. What are those things that we can do to foster peace in our world today? Don't go far, but think broadly. Um, what are those activities or attitudes or things that we can do that can bring in peace amongst you young people, or advice that you can give those who are older than you? What can we do to foster a culture of peace?
Well, I honestly think it goes back to the rule of rules, but since in this generation we are mostly about the internet, and of course, if there's something new that happens to the world, there's gonna be some consequences. Because anything good, there's going to be some people who try to bring you down in that thing. Like first, we had cars, but then if someone steals your key or they can come and hijack your car and then ask for a ransom. Like, so the internet, people can get your account and steal your personal files and ask for another huge ransom that you have to pay to get it back. And most of the time, they've already taken your file, so they leave you empty handed with no money and no files. But I think what you can do for rules is making something that's completely safe, even for kids that are not exactly being able to use the website. Like there's some websites that are for 13 plus, but kids like 9 year olds are still going to use it. Take something like Roblox, for example. It's supposed to be for 12 plus, but even I use it. I'm not 12 yet. And there are some people like 6 year olds who are playing Roblox and they're exposed to very bad things like voice chat. Because there's Roblox has switched to AI moderation, and moderation isn't really the best because you can get banned from things that are you never even did. So when you have voice chat, they can say anything you like, and it can really hurt them, and they can get depressed and even start getting addicted to games.
So now that we're talking about games, think about a space where how can we now bring in peace? Because our focus again goes back to developing peace or instilling peace in our space. Think about where people are gaming. You mentioned Roblox. How can you, who is playing in that space, or who knows that people are in the internet, how can we start being more intentional about removing violence from our space and culturing peace?
What I think is there should be something to set your birthday or a date, even though you don't want to use the real thing, you can set a fake one. So, but you have to do it under the age. So, let's say you're a 6 year old who use the real date. So that voice chat is locked until you're ready to use it, which is at like 12 years old, right? So they're not permanently banning you, but there are also some games which are not allowed. Like they're not really healthy for the young mind. Like I know people who are watching this will disagree with me, but something like Still a Brain Rot. Um that game is about collecting stuff that it's actually what it says in the name. It's brain rot. It's brain rot. It rots your brain. So when you're actually supposed to be studying, you're playing something that is useless because the person who created that game is making money, but you're not.
I feel we are moving away from the topic of peace and resolution, and as we are getting in, I'm sure some ideas have come to mind, but I want to bring us back to peace and conflict resolution. Um, what, for example, in your side, can you do or can young people do to start developing a culture of maintaining peace and not going to violence?
Um, Probably you can like make some rules, uh, and make sure that everyone is like like together and they're not like having any conflict. And if like somebody is, then they'll have to like be punished or anything. Not like violence, like punish, like beating them up or something. Like probably like give them detention or something so that they can like reflect on what they did so that they can come out and think and view the thing that they were bullying someone about in a different way.
I had a discussion some time back with somebody who mentioned that sometimes the bullies or those who bring about conflict are the ones who are afraid, they are most afraid, or they're jealous. And I think you alluded to that earlier on. Now, these people who are afraid or they're jealous, they're using violence as a way of trying to put people down so that they feel good. In that case, how can you in your space start to communicate clearly to everyone around you that violence is not the path to take? If anything, let's take peace so that everybody is happy in our world. How can you do that?
Well, like what I said earlier, if they're trying to put you down, then you can have a conversation with them with the rest of the grade saying like, stop this isn't right. Um, let them shine, because if they're shining brighter than you can ask for that spark. If this is a metaphor, if you know what I mean, you can ask for that spark so you can shine even brighter, but you don't have to make them dim their lights so you can feel good, because that's not helping you in any way. But because if you know, most of the time those guys are really nice people, but since you pick on them, you put them down and they don't really want to talk to anyone at some point. They just normally hate you, and you have a reputation for yourself which makes you not be very successful in the future. So it doesn't happen to everyone again, but I'm just saying like 80% of the time that happens.
So now I'm hearing um, tolerating or tolerance on the people who are down and just trying to understand their culture. But I'm also hearing the aspect of hearing people out and understanding. So developing a culture where we stop hate. Let hate not be the top of our pyramid. Instead, start understanding where somebody is coming from. You talked about understanding people from different culture, from different countries. In Kenya, we have very many tribes, and not putting those as our forefront, but instead thinking about us as human beings. When I think about you as a human being, you as a human being, then I will treat you with peace. So as we wrap up, we have been talking about celebrating a day of peace and non-violence, and our young people have had an amazing time telling us what their opinion is. We really appreciate this. But maybe if you have a parting shot, maybe one thing you want to say out there to your peers. Any parting shot? Who wants to start?
Um,
Maybe you?
yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, I think let's use this day as like not like let's not like use this day as like today I'm going to be your friend and today we're going to be happy. Then the next day you're like going to be bullying them. No, this today we'll have to like change our ways and also like be with peace to them. And yes,
All right. So choose today to be peaceful from now on
yes,
and not be a bully.
yes.
Cool. All right. What about you?
Well, I think I'm also going to build on what Davina said. I think every year that we celebrate this, we get a little better and better until we can finally master the art of tolerating things and being peaceful, making a sustainable environment and establishing that, and making it so that it's very healthy and there's not much tension in the room where you are. Yeah, that's it
All
for
right.
me.
That was it. Amazing conversations from these young people. I hope to hear your comments, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for having us. And that is it. Thank you.
Bye.